second. I'm pretty sure.
Guess I'll watch the Twitch stream.
We are live.
All
Hey,
right.
hello. Feel free to introduce us.
Yes, I am Die4Ever, and with me I have Gelly, who's actually a Mist speedrunner.
Yeah, but I know a decent enough about this where I'm going to help Die figure everything out here. So
yeah, so let's get the intro started because the intro is quite long.
it is.
Go ahead.
It is a fantastic intro, I should say. Before we get into it, which is why we're probably going to be really quiet through most of this. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean this intro is just the best of all time. Absolutely. This game came out in early 1993, April 1st. So it was about 6 months before Myst came out. This was pretty revolutionary. It was like the first game to really push CD-ROM drive sales.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually 2 CDs. So, you know, imagine CD-ROM is brand new and everyone thinks you never need that much storage. And then this game's like, actually, we need 2 of them, right?
Yeah, this represented one of the killer apps for CD-ROMs. This and Myst basically pushed the CD-ROM into the forefront. So I don't know when you want to start time on this. I feel like
I think that's an admin decision if someone wants to. Normally we start time on the first action.
Just hit time when the book appears. Honestly, start the time when the book appears. So the reason that the timing is a little bit weird is because normally a die skips the intro, but since we've allocated the time for the intro and the outro. That's how good they are. We're just going to include just to match with the estimate. I think he's just going to start the time when the intro's going. Hard now, yeah.
Yeah, so this is not how we would normally time it for a speedrun, but just for scheduling purposes, this is easier. In the 25th anniversary edition, it's about 7 minutes. It's a little less in this version.
It's great.
But yeah, this is the 25th anniversary edition of the game, which allows us to skip cutscenes and animations, and that makes it way faster.
Huge.
Because all puzzles in the original game is at about 1 hour and 8 minutes, and all puzzles in this version of the game is at 8 minutes and 32 seconds. So it's like what, like
very
7 times as fast.
We'll be quiet. All right, let's just shut up.
Okay. So this guy's Henry Stoff.
Stoff carved the doll, whittling the haunting face until it was an exact replica. And when he was done, Stoff went to town, to a bar. The owner had a daughter. He said his girl would love the strange doll. And Stoff offered it to the man. And the owner, in turn, offered Stoff food and a place to stay. A simple transaction. The first of many. And that night, Stoff had another vision. Stoff created the puzzle just as he saw it, and everyone wanted one. Stoff opened up a shop because everyone wanted a Stoff toy. Every boy and girl in the town, and from all the neighboring towns. A Stoff toy is a toy for life, people said, and no two are alike. Everyone loved his unique toys. Henry Stoff grew wealthy, but then the strange virus came, and some of the children started dying. was this one last vision, a last dream of a great house, a mansion that the wealthy toy maker was to build. A strange house, a house that scared people.
Okay, so now they're going to introduce the guests to the house. Now once this intro is done, the speed's going to really pick up because I'll start skipping everything.
My, isn't this a cheery place?
Edward, I'm not sure we should have been here today.
Why? Because it's a spooky old house? Don't worry, dear. I'll watch out for you.
Yeah, they actually admitted that this was inspired by Clue. I believe Rob Landro said that himself.
Don't. I expected more of Mr. Stuff.
I think it was inspired by Clue and also like House on Haunted Hill or
Lord,
something.
it smells awful too. What's Stoff been doing here?
This guy's Hamilton Temple. He's a magician. He doesn't say anything here.
He's great.
Alright.
How did I?
So normally time starts on the first movement, which would be right here.
All right. So, first puzzle you're at is the cake, right?
Be created.
Yep.
Yeah, so the cake is interesting, especially as a first puzzle, in that all of the optimization to do with the cake puzzle is the mouse movement. Essentially, you have to have X amount of pieces in every set of 5 slices. And so by optimizing the mouse movement to have the least movement per clicks, then
I'm on the cans.
a fair bit of time. Yeah, so the cans, it's just moving cans around. I mean, solving this puzzle casually is a nightmare. Solving this puzzle from a speedrun perspective is even worse, because not only do you have to know exactly what words are going where, but also like how to optimize which letters go where and everything like that.
There's more to these cans.
I think you have this pretty down pat, but I couldn't
Yes.
imagine like being able to memorize this myself, because I know what the words are. I couldn't tell you what it does. Speedrunning.
Nothing
Yeah, I
ever
memorized
seems
the
to
cans
slide right through
kind of
that.
incrementally. I had different approaches.
Oh yeah, the maze. So I hate the maze, but you know, well, so it's just if you don't know the solution to the
You
maze,
shouldn't
which
have
is sort of a
turned back.
cryptic solution in a like later part of the game, right? You just dead end constantly. Like this maze is massive.
The
You can even tell with all the
four
movements that he's doing. It's just rough. And
Coffin's
then-
puzzle is actually random, so I have to do some thinking there. That's our first
Yeah.
map warp.
I'll talk a little bit. I'll take a. Oh yeah, the map warp. So by opening and closing a map, it teleports you to the origin of a room, and so you can use that to skip like certain cutscenes or to avoid certain movements. The
Don't
Queen's
you
puzzle
just
is just solving the Queen's
Which
puzzle.
way should I go now?
There are 24 puzzles in this game. That's basically
Which way
the
should I
extent of
go?
most of my
Which way
discussion
should I
is okay.
go?
So
Which
this
way
puzzle
should
just
I
has a
go?
solution.
Which way
Unfortunately,
should I
when we
go?
get to the
Which way
dollhouse
should
puzzle, I
go?
promise
Which
it'll
way
be.
should I go now? Which way should
I'll
I
be
go?
able to
Which
go
way
on
should
and
I
on about what a
go?
nightmare that is. The bishops is also a
Which way
nightmare,
should
but
I
for
go?
different reasons.
Which
Every
way should I
time you
go
pick
now?
a
Which
piece
way should I
and
go
you
now?
have the
Which
option to
way
go in
should
2
I go
directions,
now?
the guy says, "Which way should I go now?" So there's optimization in making sure that you can only make certain movements, but there's also the optimization of actually being able to do the puzzle. It's just
There are
it's
stars
wild.
on what they stop mean, but I can't
but again,
just
thankfully,
get anywhere.
solution that is memorizable. And then the bed puzzle, you can hop like either 2 or 3 letters in order to get the right sort of solution. Determined solution, so not a lot with that. Same thing with the telescope, which we'll come up to sooner rather than later.
Spiders first.
It's easy to
Oh, the
find
spiders is
gold.
first.
Which way
The
should
spiders
I
is
go?
sort of
Which way
interesting
should I
because,
go
as
now?
you've discussed
Which
with
way should I
spiders,
go now?
which I
Which
think you're
way
at,
should I go? Which way
there's
should I
actually
go
multiple ways to solve this
Curses!
one. He optimizes it differently depending on which
You
version he's
need
playing, because
gold.
in the 25th anniversary edition of the
Now
game, you
this
can see the
doesn't
cursor
make sense.
constantly, whereas in the original game, the cursor is actually occluded by the game. So there are strats in order to figure out how close you can get the cursor to
What
certain
twisted crime?
hotspots. And so by rotating the puzzle, you can actually optimize it better for that purpose. But in the
Give up?
25th anniversary edition, it depends on where your cursor starts when you enter that area. So yeah, we're playing anniversary. You should mention. Okay, so how are you looking on the dollhouse puzzle? Tell me how many times you
try.
fail. First try. Come on, let me talk about this
I'm
one.
sorry.
This 1 out of 9 puzzles for this one are actually doable. The other 8 out of 9 are impossible
Should be
because that's a puzzle. But
It's
like that was fantastic luck. to
I actually have a
get
video that
something
explains
easy.
it.
Make your
Yeah,
mind.
it's wild. This is Get That Boy or Get Boy Tad, something like that.
Stat Yod Tag.
And then
black is white.
oh yeah, the Knights puzzle is the second longest, presumably, just because of how much you have to do. You have to. There's a lot of chess puzzles in this game. Apparently, Graham Devine had an affinity for it for whatever reason. This one's all about rotating the knight's position. Again,
There's something
this
not
one
quite
takes forever.
You shouldn't have turned down.
Again, pretty big solution as with most of
Oh.
these. The hearts puzzle, you have 12 switches that you have to flip, and then it does a MS Paint flow to the end.
Oh, and down and
And then let's see, where are we on next?
Cards.
Cards in
Yes.
Temple's room. Oh, this is a party. The optimization to do with this is literally just. I mean, no, there is no optimization. I don't think there are multiple
It's-
solutions, but
it's
basically what it comes
pretty
down to is
oh, I'm
solving the puzzle. Coins will be on a similar sort of thing. I should talk about the shortcuts because we are in Temple's room. So we just sort of sunk through the floor and then went through the fireplace there. The deal with that is that there are certain shortcuts that lead you to certain areas, and he actually used that to skip like a 30-second cutscene, which is
so
wild.
using
There are
only
plenty of
what
those
you-
shortcuts in this game, but they're used intermittently depending on how useful they are, because map warp tends to be a lot more successful in certain areas. The shortcuts and just going somewhere tends to be more successful. The blocks puzzle is irrelevant. There's basically a solution to it. And then, oh, the microscope. So in the older versions of this game, the microscope AI was absolute bogus. But for whatever reason, they sort of
All
like
the
neutered the
games
AI in this version, and so you can solve it in like 8 solutions. It's,
Yeah,
it's wild.
The microscope in the original game takes 33 moves to solve. In this version, it takes just what is it? 7 moves? Yeah.
Seven or 8.
I was trying to count and do
This
math.
stuff-
Well,
I got this. Piano.
While doing this, yeah. This puzzle is a lot more deceiving than it looks. This is basically an advanced version of the coffins. Oh, and then we're on to the piano. Forget the portrait. We're going to be talking about the piano for a minute and a half, because your boy has to play Simon Says for the next 18 notes. He misses a single one, he starts over from the beginning. Every time that a note plays, the frame rate just drops substantially because there's 2 frames for a key press. And so they just sort of drop the frame rate to, I don't know, smooth that out, make it more consistent, whatever. So that means that his mouse is constantly combating with 60 FPS versus like 2 FPS, right? So he's dealing with that. And he also has to listen to me talk about how awful this puzzle is and sweat out how awful it might go if he misses an input. He's not going to miss an input. This is just rough, and everyone, like, everyone hates this puzzle. This is the stone ship, if I may make a missed analogy. This is the stone ship of the 7th guest because of how long that this takes. It's bonkers. Thankfully, he is doing it on 7th anniversary, so he can skip a lot of the cutscenes, but like, it's a small concession for just the garbage. That's just what I'm gonna say with it. Oh yeah, the eyeball thing. So every time that he presses space, it skips a cutscene. But if he presses it and it's not during a skippable cutscene, it indicates inputs that can be put in. You may have noticed that it happens like a lot more wildly on things like the Queen's Puzzle chessboard, and this one in particular, where you can press every piano key.
Yeah, also
It
should be mentioned that I can use spacebar and right click to skip stuff, and often I'm spamming both buttons at the same time.
Right, because you just want to do it whatever, because there is no real cost to missing skipping. Playing Megalovania. Well, if you miss a single input, Stauf just laughs at you. Wait, you rearrange the letters in Stauf, you get Faust, because he's the devil. I learned that watching this puzzle. Let me know when you finish the piano, by the way.
Yeah, we're near the end.
Oh, fantastic. He's on to 16 out of 18 keys.
Alright, I'm done.
Okay, fantastic. So now we're on to the door knocker puzzle, which I get to talk about for 5 seconds. Remember that little peg game from Cracker Barrel where you hop pegs over each other? That's essentially the puzzle. There you go. That's the knocker puzzle. And then finally, the house puzzle isn't even worth mentioning. It's like cellular automata.
Watch this cutscene. This would normally be time. We would have already beaten the game by now, but we'll watch this.
You know I won't hurt you. Just come upstairs.
It hasn't happened yet.
Let me! No! Let me!
It's happening now. I've been here before. I've seen all this over and over.
Help me! Someone, please!
Tried to help him. Tried to help myself. Always failing.
You little brat.
Okay, so it turns out we are Tad. And we're stuck in a time loop.
You don't even understand what that you don't even understand what that means because we skipped all the cutscenes.
We don't even know who that is. Alright, here's the actual outro and cutscene.
Oh, and it's amazing. Ooh.
It's all amazing.
The smell. I can't breathe.
Bring him here. I brought him, the one you wanted, the guest.
Someone, please! Help me!
I'm that boy.
I just want to get out of here!
My wish. I'll get my wish. Oh no! Oh what the? Oh no! You cheated me! You promised me!
Run! Run for Pete's sake!
Help me!
I can't do anything. You're not real. No, I swear. No, you can't have him. You can't have me.
You saved me. It's all been changed now. Now and
Forever.
Alright, so that's the end of the game.
Yeah, feel free to hit your timer. I don't know if you have yet.
Oh yeah, I guess I could. I mean, it's not even official timing anyway, so.
Nah, it's meant to compare against the estimates. We were 5 minutes under the estimate. So
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a admin in here. If we want to kill time, I've got cutscenes I can show. 30-second ones or whatever.
Feel free to
show
do
all sorts
shoutouts
of
in the
stuff.
meantime. Because there are shoutouts that you should make.
Yeah, shoutouts. Wait, not new game.
Can you
what am
not
I
think of them?
doing? Yeah, I mean, shoutouts to, like, you know, we got a few players who do the 7th guest. Dark Tenka used to speedrun 7th guest. Roku did the microscope puzzle for this game. He figured out the solution for that one, the 7-move one.
Yeah,
Havoc Project
Quick
did the
Brown
original
Fox.
speedrun. Quick Brown Fox came up
Right.
with a bunch of solutions. And
Alaskan Emily always comes up with all the appropriate lines to come up with.
yeah. Let's see, I can load we go.
It's open house mode. Can you watch, or are there no cutscenes in
Open house
I
mode
don't
doesn't show
remember.
cutscenes, unfortunately.
Ah, bummer. What is the? Oh, chuck him into the soup.
Are you watching Discord?
You should just pull up 11. Let me see. Yeah, give me a sec. Oh, shoot.
This isn't real.
I smell it.
They aren't saying anything in particular about killing time.
No.
Chuck him into the soup.
Also, another person I need to shout out is Motek, or Game Bop as he goes by sometimes. And just generally the Shivers community, I guess, is, you know, pretty close to the 7th Guest community.
I feel sick.
But, yeah, Game Bop, Motek, he had a speedrun like a few years ago of this game in the original version that got pretty close to sub 1 hour. And I think that, you know, helped a lot, like, to follow for any percent.
Giving you the go-ahead on a few cutscenes. The Shivers community. I should hit them up there.
Yeah.
Can you give me real magic? Can you show me?
Cool. Okay, this is the best.
Want a balloon, Sonny? Here's a nice one. Ready, balloon.
And by the way, here's a shortcut that we do not use in the speedrun, unfortunately. I wish I could figure out a way to sneak it into the speedrun, but it's not useful.
All the cutscenes are nonsense in this game, which is fantastic.
So yes, we just went down into the pool table and came out of the oven. And with that, I think we could call that done, right? I think that's our time.
That was awesome.
All right, well,
no.
Thank you for the commentary. And
thank you for having me. It was a treat.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. This was the 7th Guest.
Adios.